Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Money in Motion. I'm your host, Jordan Maxwell, a qualified financial planner based here in London. Now, if it's your first time here, just want to set the tone. What this series isn't is a deep dive into the latest investment trends or pretending there's some secret sauce to building long-term wealth. The whole point of this is simple: to help you build better money behaviors, to make smarter financial decisions, and actually move forward step by step toward a stronger financial future. Each episode is designed to be short, straight to the point, and give you something practical you can reflect on or act on immediately. So without further ado, let's jump into today's episode. So I want to start this episode with a sentence that might sound slightly uncomfortable, but I think it's important. And that is, your money is your responsibility. Now, before you switch off and you think, all right, Jordan, calm down. Stick with me for a second. This isn't about blame. This isn't about guilt. It's all about ownership. One of the biggest things I see when it comes to people feeling stuck financially is a habit of outsourcing responsibility. Not intentionally, not maliciously, but it is done. Whether that's to their partners, husband does it to a wife does it to a husband, to their accountants or their financial advisors, to their boss or their employers, hell, even to a government. You know, if I vote in this particular party, I'm going to be better financially in some way. And look, before I go any further, I'm not saying that those things aren't helpful, right? Of course they are. Support from your partners, from your professional circle is all good and it all helps. Advice matters, support matters, but there's a big difference between getting help and handing over responsibility entirely. Because no one, I can't stress this enough, no one, and I mean no one, will care about your financial future more than you do. Or at least more than you should. And I've seen situations where one partner, let's say, completely manages the finances. Let's say the husband manages the finances or the wife handles the finances completely. And the other has almost no idea what's going on. And that's just the dynamic. They have no idea what savings they have or where the savings are. They have no idea if there's pensions involved or, again, where they are, what they're doing, how much they're worth. They have no idea what to do if something changes. And I think that's a big thing. If the partner that's handling all the finances suddenly passes away, the surviving spouse is completely in limbo. They have no idea what to do. And on the surface, at the moment, it feels fine. You just hand it over and you say, they'll deal with that. My advisor will deal with that. My accountant will deal with that. Until life happens. And then you realize how little or how little control you actually have. Because relationships change. As I said, people pass away, you lose your job, things will shift. And now you're forced to understand your finances from in the middle of the storm, from the eye of the hurricane, in the middle of all of that stress, which is probably the worst possible time to learn anything when you're super stressed. I've seen people rely entirely on their accountant. They think someone else is handling that. I don't need to know what's going on. Only to realize later that they didn't understand the basic things about their own financial position. And again, I know that this may come across as a bit ranty and I don't want this to be a criticism, but it is the reality of what I see every day. Support is there to strengthen your decision. Me as a financial advisor, I'm there to strengthen and support my clients and their decisions, but it's not there to replace their involvement. I'm not there to completely remove them from the equation and take the reins entirely. Because ultimately, you're still the one living the consequences of the decisions. I can advise something, but it impacts you, not me. And I think this happens a lot because money can feel, for many people, intimidating. It can be boring. Let's not kid ourselves. It can be a bit boring sometimes. It can be overwhelming as well. You've got many things to consider. There's taxes and pensions and investments and savings and insurance. All of these things, it's easy. I completely understand. It's easy to say, someone else deal with all that. But the problem with that mindset is when you disconnect completely from your finances, you're also disconnecting from your options and the life that you're heading towards in the future. If you don't know the numbers, how can you make intentional decisions, right? You're simply guessing. You're walking around in the dark. And guessing when it comes to money usually costs more than people realize. Now, when I say that you need to know your numbers, I'm not saying break out the spreadsheets, color code everything to absolute perfection. You don't need to become an expert. You don't need to become the accountant, become the advisor. That's not what I'm saying here. But you should know the basics. What's coming in? What's going out? What are you saving? What debt exists if there is debt? What pensions do you have? These simple questions. But most people can't answer them clearly. And again, either they've buried their head in the sand, they don't want to look at their numbers, or they've lived a good portion of their life outsourcing all of that responsibility to those questions to someone else. And if that's you listening to this, that's okay. But it's also your sign to stop burying your head in the sand, because avoidance, it may feel harmless in the short term. It may feel like the good thing to do now. You tell yourself, I'll look at that later. I'll deal with that eventually. But eventually has a habit of arriving much faster than we expect it to. And the longer you avoid responsibility or taking responsibility, the more complicated things can often become. Now, again, I don't want this to come across as ranty or criticizing. But taking responsibility of your finances doesn't mean you suddenly have to become obsessed with it. You can start small. Again, it doesn't mean breaking out the spreadsheets and looking at every single pound and penny. Just means becoming a bit more engaged. Pay a bit more attention. Ask questions. Believe me, as a financial advisor, I love it when my clients ask me questions. It means that they're engaged. It means that they're seeking help where it's needed. It's one of the smartest things that they can do. But there's a huge difference between them saying, Jordan, help me understand this, and Jordan, just deal with this for me. One of those builds confidence because we're working together and it's almost like a partnership back and forth, and you're building your knowledge and your experience by asking me the questions. The other one is just sheer dependency. You're outsourcing all responsibility to me or to your partner, to your accountant, to your government, to your prime minister, whoever. And that's obviously a problem. Now, if this feels a bit overwhelming, as I say, you don't need to do something massive overnight. Start small. You don't need to sort out your whole financial life this week, but just start looking, start engaging a bit more. What's in your account? What are you spending? What do you own, for instance? What do you owe if you have any debt? Get familiar with the numbers. Get familiar with what's actually happening around you. Even if your partner deals with the majority of the stuff, don't be left completely in the dark about everything, because they're not always going to be there. And at the end of the day, this is your life, it's your future, it's your choices. And while support and guidance absolutely matters, no one else can want it for you. We can help, but I can't want it for you. No advisor can, no accountant, no partner, no sweeping new government policy can come in and want a better financial future for you. Only you can. We can only support your journey. We can't walk it for you. So, key takeaway from this episode is your money may involve other people, but it is still your responsibility. And the sooner you start engaging with it, the more confident, the more capable, the more in control you will feel. And that's today's episode. Now, if you found this useful, make sure you follow, subscribe so you don't miss the next. And if you know someone who might need a gentle reminder to take ownership of their finances, share this with them. Okay, that's it for now, and I will catch you in the next one.